Yeah, we're trying not to let them until they answer a couple final questions. I'm going to dip over to Chip Roy, see if I can stick my microphone in there so you can hear him, because he was one of the Freedom Caucus members who was against the bill before he was for it. He was a no and then a yes, so we're going to see if we can get a question in here, Connell.
I wouldn't have increased the debt ceiling $5 trillion, but, you know, I'm 1/435th of 1/2 of 1/3, so that's my voting power. Yeah.
Congressman, a lot of Freedom Caucus members are saying they were no's yesterday firmly. Now they're yeses after they got agreements and assurances from President Trump. But nobody will say what those assurances are.
I'm out here telling all these guys that, I mean, we had very specific conversations about what the executive branch can do with respect to the Green New Scam subsidies, the fact that the Senate added an amendment at the tail end that gave us real concern and pause that we didn't think we could support. We believe the administration is aligned with us on terminating those Green New Scam subsidies. We believe we're going to get 90+% of all future projects terminated. And we've talked to lawyers in the administration. We believe that's true. We also got some other assurances about how we're going to deal with future spending, some of the things on rescissions and in-pocket rescissions and future reconciliation packages. Look, would I have rebooted and done a little bit more? Yeah. But as I just said, I'm 1/435th of 1/2 of 1/3. You got to figure out how to.
But isn't one of the core tenets of the Freedom Caucus, of its founding, transparency in government? How is this transparent? No American knows what got you guys from no to yes.
I'm telling you what they are right here. But besides, I'm also telling you that along the line, you keep pressing for what you can get. And we got $1 trillion of Medicaid, $1.6 trillion in cost, $500 billion of Green New Scam subsidies peeled back. We got work requirements. We got food stamps. They said we'd never touch food stamps. You can't touch it. Then we did. Then we forced it so that it wouldn't be going to illegal aliens. We got serious dollars in for on the border stuff when they said we wouldn't, that we'd have to end up putting amnesty in there to get that stuff. We didn't.
But those were all in the bill when you said you were a no.
Those were not in the bill when we said we were a no in February, and then we negotiated those in. Remember, who voted the bill down in the Budget Committee? Was it you? No, it was me.
That was you.
And so we voted it down, and what do we get for that? Green New Scam subsidy stuff. Back when they said we couldn't get Medicaid, it was us who then formulated what? We put together a working group, right, and a framework where we came out of Budget Committee with my friend Jody Arrington, who was just over here, the Budget Committee chairman, and we forced them to the table. Guess what? We got $1.5 trillion of savings, including Medicaid. All of that adds up. And then here at the end, through last night, we were a no. I was a no. There were definitively enough no's right up through about 2 a.m. until we got pretty good understanding of where things are with what the lawyers can do in the administration to stop the continued subsidies going to these ridiculous private corporations that are undermining our grid. Any last question over here?
All right, guys, I'm going to pull away here. Kyle, if you can, let's just go this way. All right, Connell. So my question for Congressman Roy is just something we've been asking several House Freedom Caucus members, because, as you know, yesterday, as he said, there were several of them that were promising they're not going to vote for this bill. It was not good enough. And then many of them went to the White House and came back and told us about these assurances they got that spending levels are going to improve in some way. President Trump has authorities to sort of fix what they did not like in the original
through executive
bill.
order? Is that what he's talking
about?
Sure
what those assurances are.
Is he talking about?
So we've asked a couple of members, and some have said yes. Yes, some have said yes. Some have said that executive orders may be what comes next. So that was interesting here, Connell. I will just say, bigger picture. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a long time. This is a major win for President Trump, the fact that this bill has passed the House. It was uncertain up until about a couple of hours ago. And obviously, he got a major win today by his deadline, July 4th. But I think what's going to come next now is that these guys are going to have to sell it back at home. Democrats are going to try to counter-sell it and try to convince the public that this is not going to be good for them. And ultimately, we're going to have data in the next few months how this plays out.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.